Today it's the turn of iRealPro. This is a jazz backing track app made for iOS. And actually it has more than the jazz styles that it initially came with, 5, 6, 7 years ago. It has various rock and pop styles, reggae pop, smooth, R&B, all sorts of things. But this is really designed to get you practicing along with tunes. You can write your own tunes on this as well with the basic word processor that this comes with. So it's extremely powerful. Let's take a look. I'm just going to click on iRealPro and it comes up with the last tune that I looked at. There's an index of tunes here that you can scroll up and find. Now, there are forums here. Originally, when this came out, all the chord sequences were loaded up, but now they're on the forums for various reasons, and you have all these different genres and all these different contributors, so you can look for songs from people or you can look for songs from styles. So I've got them all preloaded here, so I'm just going to stick with that. You can also make your own playlists if you're doing a gig, because you can gig with this. It's more convincing on the jazz styles, but it's very good. So I'm going to just show you a little bit now about the styles on here. I'm just going to set a jazz style rather than rock and pop. So I'm just going to set medium swing to start off with. So that's your first option here. The second one is how fast you want it to go at a tempo between 40 and 360, which is rather rapid. Let's go for 140 or something nice and sort of medium up. Now, we've also got the number of times you want the chorus to go round. Let's say, well, up to 30 times. That's quite a long tune. Click the same button again and the menu will come down. You can also change the key of anything, and when you change the key, it'll change the chords on the page as well. You can also, if you're a transposing instrument, it gives you C, B flat, E flat, F or G. You can, somebody tells you what the key is, you just punch that in and it transposes the chords for you. So we've got chord diagrams. So if you're a guitarist and you're learning jazz chords, you just set the first one, either left or right-handed as well. Great, really good. This is really, really good. You can change the font from handwriting to guitar or piano, one hand, piano, two hands, all that sort of thing. There are lots of things you can do here. And then the guitar chords will come up as you play the tune. There we go. So I'm just going to switch those off for now, so you can see the main display. There is also a teaching function here, where you can actually elect for the tempo to increase slightly for every chorus that you go through. Well, actually, slightly, it depends on what you want. Plus 20 BPM, that's quite a ramp. So, for example, if you're learning Donna Lee, you can start off and end up full-on tempo. Transposition, you can say, I want it to go up a minor third every time. So it really makes you think about your keys. And there is a range of display options here where you can select your font, your colours, whether you're night mode or not, which is quite useful for a darkened room so it's not so bright on your eyes. I have a feeling that actually eats the battery a little bit quicker, but it's all right, just plug it in. Minor symbol. Minus or M. Now, jazz language does specify the minus, really, as a minor chord. It just means you haven't got lots of M's everywhere. M, minor, major 7, minor, major 7. It's just easier to have a minus there. And the playback position, you can have a cursor that shows you where you are in the chord sequence. You can highlight the rehearsal symbols, such as DSL code or repeat marks, anything like that. And if you highlight those, they come up the same colour as your playback position. So in this case, it's red. So I'm going to play now. I'm going to show you the mixer as well. You can have 3 sounds at once on iRealPro. Piano, bass, and drums is the main 3, but you can change any one of those to a different instrument in the family. Piano, Rhodes, electric piano, a Rhodes 2, vibraphone, or an organ. Bass, electric bass or fretless bass, and the drums you can either have a click or you can have click on 2 and 4. No one clicks on 1 and 3. You can also have a reverb control, which is quite a nice little reverb in there. So if I just play that sound back to you, you'll hear the different sounds. Okay, yeah. I'm just going to take the reverb off there. I'm just going to go back to piano and acoustic bass. Note that you cannot change things like this on the fly, because what it does is it actually renders the MP3 file ready to play. So you can't change the tempo either, or the key, or the number of times. So it's good for gigging, but you need to really work out what you're going to do before you start the tune. So I'm just going to get rid of the mixer now, and I'm going to just take the piano off completely so that I can jam with it. And you'll hear that it's really quite a nice thing to jam to. Yeah. Bring the piano back if you want to practice some guitar over the top. Now the piano, you can set to be slightly less busy. At the moment it says embellished chords, so it is actually playing with those chord symbols a bit. It says F minor 7, but actually there's ninths and 13ths and all sorts in there. So you can switch that off if you want a slightly more basic piano. Now you can change this to, I've got my violin here, you can change this to gypsy jazz if you want, and you can set the tempo up a little bit higher. So when you select gypsy jazz, it automatically changes the sounds in your mixer to gypsy jazz sounds. Admittedly, there were no drums back in the Django Reinhardt, Stefan Grappelli days, but it's still nice to have them, and they are subtle as well. Acoustic bass, electric bass, fretless, organ, you get your tuba. I wonder what it sounds like. I've never heard this. I like it. Now, there are trad jazz styles on here, which is why the tuba sound is available. So if I was to change that to, I'll just get rid of my mixer, change the style to trad. Admittedly, trad jazz and This Masquerade, which is a Leon Russell composition, is slightly incongruous, but it works. And there you go, it just changes your sounds for you. Now, the jazz styles are the main ones here. You also have Latin styles, and actually the selection here is pretty much covers all your bases, really. Cha-cha-cha. That is totally usable, really, really nicely put together. The pop ones, you have various things here, bluegrass, so it just brings out a banjo instead. If you're a bass player, you can just take the bass away and jam along with the with just the piano or the drums or whatever other instruments you've got. So something like this with a mixer where you can take the bass away, it makes it handy for especially people like me with this shovel, where the scale length is, I'm still getting used to it, so I can just jam along with that and hopefully not get it wrong. So it's great for all musicians to practice with, even great for idiots that make basses out of garden equipment. Drums, you can just have a click, so anyone can practice with this. Now, the things like the rock ones or the rock and pop ones, they're okay, but obviously there are so many different genres, and so it's difficult to get all of them in. But they're still usable, and you can definitely practice with this. Now, that's the playback side of iRealPro. Now you can compose things. So I'm going to show you the basic word processor that is included with this, and it's very, very good, very usable, and it goes a bit like this. I'm going to go new song. You have a couple of things that you can use. 32 measures AABA is a standard jazz format, and the 32 measures ABAC. 48 measures, 96 measures, or blank. Now, blank does mean that you have to be really hot on how many beats you've got in every bar, and making sure that you've got your bar lines in the right place. I'm going to go with 32 measures AABA, and it brings up a nice blank canvas for me to put my chords on. And then you have the letters A to G, the numbers 1 to 9, well, except 8, because you don't have an 8, in any of the chord symbols. You have flats, sharps. Plus is sharp 5, minus is minor. The little 0 with the line through is minor 7 flat and fifth, or half diminished. Then we have diminished, which is just the 0 sign there. And we also have the triangle, which is major 7. So as discussed with the minus and the triangle, you haven't got these M's everywhere. So it's quite easy to see once you got used to reading those symbols. Suspended, sus4, sus2, add 9, or alt is a 7, is kind of a dominant 7th chord, but there are lots of other adjustments made to up to the 13th. So you can have flat 9, sharp 11, flat 13, combination of those. The little symbol, the / symbol, means that you can specify a different note in the bass. NC means no chord. Then you have the repeat last bar or repeat the last 2 bars. And let's get started. Let's do G minor 7. G minus 7. Now the cursor is still on the first beat of the bar. I'm going to go next to move it along to the second half of that bar and put a C7 in this. There we go. And then I'm going to go to the next bar, F major 7, B flat 7, sharp 11. Notice that the text is blue when you're typing things. If it's invalid as a chord, it will be blue until you make sure that you've got the right symbol there. So C half diminished, F7 flat. There we go. You can see that it's blue there. It's waiting for another number. F7 flat 9, B flat minus 7, A half diminished, D7, G minus 7. I'm kind of flying blind here really. E flat major 7, A flat major 7, D7 alt. So I'm done on that. I want to save that, and now it brings it into my usual workspace here. With the AABA format, you can only play back what you've done and just to see that it's right if you've completed that section up to the repeat mark. So I'm going to do that now. So I'm going to press play. I'm going to sort of speed the tempo up a bit, medium swing with a piano sound. There we go, and off we go. I'm not overly displeased with that chord sequence. So now that means you can put in your B section. When you've finished with this, I'll just go back into the edit window for just a second. You can also input the title with the little I symbol that appears there. and you can put incongruous chord sequence. Unknown composer, it can stay that way. I'll just give it Charlie Stapley. Style, medium swing. Now, if you change the key, it'll then ask you whether you want to transpose the chords that you've just done, and I wouldn't want that. So I'm going to go for the key of F major, set. There we go. I'm going to click done on there now. Save. Say I want to put this up on the forums, I can just do that with this little box up here with the arrow coming out at the top. Share chord chart, share audio, add to playlist, find. So share chord chart. There we go. iRealPro format, the forums. You just stick it up there and everyone else can go, who's that? Ooh. You can save it as a PDF if you want to email somebody just a chart to play through. Anything's possible. iRealPro format, you can send it to other iRealPro users, and there are many, for them to edit or play back on their devices. And there we go. That is pretty much, that shows the features available on iRealPro.